is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Run It Back here on the Kansas City Sporting Network. And I have two very special guests with me today. One being none other than Hannah Whetstone, who I know a lot of y'all saw my face last year doing sideline. Guess what? It's Hannah's time to shine. She is now one of the new sideline reporters for all K-State sports. She had her first two games with soccer, who we're going to talk about a little bit later. And also the other guest that will be joining us today is none other than Jazmin Brown. And if y'all heard last week's episode as well, I am practically the president of the Jazmin Brown fan club. So that's going to be really fun to get to talk to her later. But first and foremost, Hannah, thank you so much for being a nice little co-host for me today.
Thanks for having me, Jazmin. This is exciting.
All right, so we're going to get this started off with a little bit of K-State volleyball first and foremost, because if y'all did not hear, they went up to Portland, Oregon and handled their business, clean shop. Everybody was handed L's, okay, by the hands of K-State women's volleyball. You feel me? And I know, but I got to first start out with this because the brand spanking new Morgan Family Arena will be having their ribbon cutting ceremony at, I want to say, 3 p.m. That is just before their 7 o'clock game against Omaha. So I know all y'all gonna be there because this weekend got the Big 12 champs coming back in the building of Bill Snyder Family Stadium. So I know y'all gonna be there. So why not have this full-fledged weekend of K-State sports? Because not only will we have this ribbon cutting at 3 o'clock and then the game on Friday also at 7 o'clock. Same day, guys. Same day. It's gonna be this Friday. Okay, ribbon cutting at 3. Game against Omaha at 7. Okay, that's Friday night. Then you already know it's going to be a whole day of partying that Saturday with K-State football against SEMO. And then I'm just telling you, it's just keeps getting better, because also on Sunday, not only does soccer play Nebraska at home at 1 p.m., K-State volleyball will also be playing Nebraska that same day at 4 p.m. So as soon as that soccer game gets done, what y'all gonna do? Y'all gonna trot your little selves right on over. Just go ahead and sprint. I don't care, Tron. You'll get there when you get there. You feel me? Because it's as soon as that game is, you go right next to Morgan Family Arena for another K-State and Nebraska matchup. You know, I know you're covering these games. I know you are. I know you are. I know Sophie is as well. Please, what can you expect to having such a huge K-State weekend? Because y'all gonna be busy, bro.
Absolutely. There is so much anticipation leading up to these games. I know on campus there is insane buzz going on right now, just with a weekend full of activities. I know that so many students are so excited for volleyball. I personally will be getting in line very early. I'm not covering the game, Sophie is, but I want to make sure I have a good spot in the student section. And then you mentioned people making a whole weekend out of it. My family's coming up. They're coming for volleyball. They're coming for football. They're coming for more volleyball and soccer on Sunday. So it's going to be a good one.
I'm just honestly, I'm so damn jealous, because this will be the weekend that I'm all up in that piece. Okay, if I'm working or not, I don't care. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there on Friday night for volleyball with the home opener at the new arena. Okay, you feel me? I'm being there. You already know I'm going to watch the Big 12 champs on Saturday. And then again, you got a doubleheader of games with soccer and volleyball against the same opponent back to back. Are you kidding me? You know how special it is to be able to get to witness that? But no, I'm in Amarillo, so I need to live vicariously through all of you, because I know y'all butts better be in seats. You feel me? Because we talked a little bit before that K-State volleyball went to Portland, Oregon, and handled their business. Okay, their first opponent was against Portland State. They dropped the first set. But then they said, "I kind of put your big girl panties on," and they pretty much went 9 straight sets. They won 9 straight sets. They were handing out L's. And in that very first game, the first game of Coach Mansfield's K-State career, he got his first win. Okay, and Aaliyah Carter did what Aaliyah Carter did. Okay, she was able to get her 1,000th kill. That makes her 19th in Wildcat history in the amount of kills. And it was her and Liz Grigorski who had 10 kills each in that game. And then, bro, it was downhill from everybody else from that point forward, because you already know they gonna get theirs, they gonna get their kills. And also highlighting in that game, because like I said, this is the very first game of the Coach Mansfield era. You feel me? And there's a couple of new players that is on this team that we don't know from last year's team, right? So one being Izzy Trolszewski. Okay, she is a transfer from, I want to say, Oregon State. She had 41 of the 47 assists in that game against Portland State, the very first game of the season. 41 of their 47 assists. And I know you know a lot more volleyball than I do, but having one person be accounting for 41 of 47 assists, I feel like that's kind of an insane stat for just one individual.
Yeah, it is. And I think it speaks to just how valuable that transfer can be in Izzy. And obviously in volleyball, so much of that offense literally revolves around the setter. So her coming out early and showing that she can make stuff happen on the court and deliver big results, I think is so impressive. And again, just speaks to kind of just like, I guess there's a lot of anticipation with new coach. I feel like we're revamping this program. And what an awesome way to start the season. And I think that Izzy is a really exciting addition to this team.
I know, and this is such a good coming out party to let K-State fans know that she's here. You know what I mean? Because she also had her first K-State career double with 22 digs with the Cats. And of course, like I said, this is a new name on this team. And Coach Manfield was kind of talking about her and kind of like what she brings. And they're talking about teams think that they can hit over her or they can hit around her because she's small. She's 5'7". But then she came out and saying, psych, you thought, don't play with me. And she ended up also having not only the 22 digs, but 5 blocks as well. She had 5 blocks, 5'7", being not only the offensive juggernaut that she had having 41 assists, she getting 22 digs or 5 blocks, 5'7".
Yeah, I think that's honestly so impressive. Being 5'7", playing Division I volleyball, and obviously being a powerhouse offensively, but then being able to put those kind of numbers up defensively is very impressive for sure.
Exactly, especially when you have like a couple 6'5" front blockers that we have at the net. And I know we have a couple of players on our volleyball team that's around 5'7", because you obviously know they don't have the skill, right? And I'm not gonna lie, K-State, we love shorter players. I'm just saying, we got a really good track record of having shorter players who can just ball out. Okay, y'all already know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Deuce. I'm talking about Marquise. Izzy is already in this as well. We got Mac Morris, who's the libero back there, pretty much being the defensive wall that she is. Okay, honestly, we're gonna hit more on her more likely later in the season. But when I tell you she's one of the best liberos in the Big 12, it's not even up for an argument. It's not even up for an argument. Okay, so once again, K-State volleyball doing what they had to do, and pretty much did it easily. It wasn't a competition. They played Portland State first, they were the ones hosting this tournament in the first place. And of course, they want to show out for their home crowd, yada, yada, yada. That's where they were able to get that first set win. Okay, cool. And they think, oh, wow, we gonna really hand it to this Power 5 team. Psych! No, you're not. Sit your behinds down. That wasn't the case for them. And it pretty much was rolling ever since then. There's a couple other teams that I barely know. San Diego State handled they behind in 3. There wasn't a competition. Actually, they had a 532 attack percentage. I didn't know a whole bunch of this, but that's an insane number, Hannah. That is an insane number. Because I think I read even more about this, because apparently it ranks second most in a 3-set match in the rally setting era. I do not know when that started, but if you're top 2 in anything, in any sort of era, just say there's not much to compete with that. So already, okay, they ran through the competition with them. And then I think it was Cal State Fullerton. Once again, not a competition. Okay, you didn't have the freshmen and sophomores getting in there doing their thing. It was already supposed to be now the first tournament win in the Jason Mansfield era for K-State volleyball. So we got more of that coming to you guys later on in the season. As it says, just 3 games so far. A lot of games that unfortunately that we could not watch because I know my ESPN Plus, Lord have mercy, sometimes it be playing with me, but that's okay. That's going to get fixed, all right? Okay, now moving on to K-State soccer. I know, Hannah, these were the 2 games that you did, the first 2 games that we had. And I know the first one was against UTSA. That was their home opener, and bro, that was a fun game, man. It was a fun game, even from sitting on my couch. They had 2 goals in 37 seconds. It was the freshman party, pretty much, and I could feel the energy in the crowd from my couch. I just love seeing the crowd full, showing the energy, showing all them like the moans and groans when we don't get a foul called or something like that. I love seeing that, especially for like women's soccer, a sport that a couple of years ago there might not have been a whole lot of fans in the stands. You know what I mean? But just to see that. But Hannah, you being there and you being on the sideline for that game, like what did you kind of see from this team and from that crowd that was there for the home opener?
Yeah, it was super, super hype. It had been so hot that day. They ended up moving the game back an hour to like hopefully try to let it cool down. But as soon as the sun went down, the weather was beautiful. The student section was packed. Like when I tell you the students showed up, they showed up.
Yeah.
I was so proud. And I know Jazmin, like from the job, like we can't like cheer for one team or the other. Like it was so hard. And I didn't think it was going to be that difficult, but I literally just love K-State so much that I was like, I was really struggling not to cheer, especially there at the end of that first half when, again, like you said, back-to-back goals in 37 seconds by freshmen coming off the bench. It was so awesome. It was so loud. It was so hype. There was like music blaring. The announcer was getting the crowd going. The players on the field were going crazy because obviously these two freshmen just recorded, big time, first time career stats. And it was awesome, especially that second goal was from so far out. I was like, oh my gosh. It was just awesome.
Morgan Henderson, she put her foot through that ball. She did a couple like meek turn kick.
Yeah.
I guess like 27 yards out over the outstretched hands of the goalkeeper. I'm like, stop it. Like, what you like this? So this is what you on? I'm like, bro, this is so exciting for this freshman team. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about this freshman team and even more so when we have Jazmin Brown coming to the show. But first and foremost, I do got to shout out. We are sponsored by Studio Wax, and something that we like to do here every other episode is that we want to highlight one female athlete who is doing some bomb stuff for the community, absolutely doing the best that she can, K-State women athlete. And we are going to give her a $50 gift card to Studio Wax. And this week's winner is none other than K-State women's golf, Gabriella McNeely, who served on the SAAC exec board the last 2 years at the community outreach representative. So girl, if you want to go on down to Studio Wax, Kylie, my girl over there, she'll get you right. And also we have another sponsorship with Home Field Apparel. We just talked about a huge K-State weekend that is coming up. And I know y'all need some new gear. So head over to homefieldapparel.com and they'll hook y'all up. We'll be right back on Run It Back.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
College football fans, are you ready for week one? DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking you up with a can't-miss offer to start the season strong. This week, new customers can bet just $5 on college football and score $200 in bonus bets instantly. Anything can happen in college football. Your team could go from unranked to dynasty mode in just a couple of years. Change comes fast. The only thing that's a lock is the great offers from DraftKings Sportsbook. Life's more fun when you're in on the action, so here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. New customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5 on college football. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. You must be 21 years or older, physically present in Kansas. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort.
Welcome back to Run It Back here on the Kansas City Sporting Network, where I have Hannah Whetstone with me and also a very special guest, none other than Jazmin Brown, who was all Big 12 freshman and all Big 12 freshman team last year. Let's not forget the crazy week that she's had with Co-Defender of the Week, Top Drawer Soccer.com National Team of the Week, and College Soccer News National Team of the Week. Girl, you've been busy. You've been really, really busy, and I appreciate you coming on with us today. But I know, first and foremost, I got to say, because last week's episode, I don't know if you saw or not, like I said, I feel like I'm the president of the Jazmin Brown fan club, because I was doing sideline for you guys last season. And I know there was one game, and I talked about this a lot. I honestly don't fully remember who the opponent was. It might have been against TCU, but someone fouled you really hard, and I know not even seconds later, you fouled her hard right back, put her on the back pockets, and stared her down. You got to yell it's hard, but I think like, bro, that's worth it, and that got me real hyped. And I know me and Hannah were just talking about like it's so hard because we can't cheer. We have to be really biased because we're not supposed to. But yo, it might like sitting in my little chair in that corner, I was like, like my God. Do you remember that moment? And do you remember who y'all were playing? Because that's my top 2 moment, and it's not even number 2. Okay.
Oh, we were playing Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah, because we won that game. Well, okay, just before that, I got kicked in the face, and like,
okay.
I'm tall. Like, you have to try. You have to really throw your foot up there. And I was a little upset over that foul. I remember asking my teammate, I was like, what number kicked me in the face? Mm-hmm. And then the next opportunity, which it was put on a silver platter for me, I was like, well, I'm going to go hard in this tackle. And I got, you look.
Bro, you see, that's why I love this. Because when you were a freshman, okay, you were a freshman, and I talked about this team. I like, yo, this team is tough. You ain't just gonna come up there and punk them. This team ain't got no punks on it. And you were the prime example of this team not having any punks on it. Because like, bro, like I said, you're a freshman. You're a freshman just starting conference play. What you mean you bumping girl on her back pocket and staring her down? I'm like, oh, what? Oh, like, I love this. I love this in women's sports. Because you know how people got all up in their feelings when they had, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese was, talking smack to each other, and people's like, oh my gosh, clutching their pearls and stuff like that. I'm like, I talk like this when I'm playing Uno. You know what I mean? I don't know what the deal is, but I love when I like see that passion and stuff like that from like all women's sports. Because I also kind of leads into this question, like, is there a lot of trash talk on the pitch with y'all? Please, if you're able to let me know.
There's yes. Yeah. Of course there is, from both sides, always. Like, there's never a game that I've gone without my forward saying something and I'm snapping back. Something like that. It's just a bunch of trash talk. It makes it fun now.
No. Exactly. I know it does, because like I told you, I do this to play Uno. I'm not an athlete, so I gotta do where I can make it count. And that's just playing some games, so it just gets real crazy, you know what I mean? But Jazmin, so thank you for coming on the show. I know, like, I just had to get that first question out there, because like, bro, I talked to you up so much last week, because you obviously had that crazy game against, what was it, Green Bay, which with 2 headers and 2 goals in that game. But honestly, your first goals at K-State here was just in that game alone. And you're a rising star. Okay, you're a rising star within this K-State soccer program and stuff like that. And I even made player comparisons. Like, are you familiar with Wendy Bernard of the French national team, possibly?
Yes, actually, really tall.
Really tall?
Really tall.
Yeah. One of the top defenders in the world. You know where the ball gonna be at set pieces because she's 6'2". You know, that's kind of the player comparison that I had, because obviously I know you're not 6'2", and I know this, like, there's a bit of a gap. You got a long way to get to where she's at. But I think, like, bro, what player comparison? It has been literally with her, and I know you're gonna be one of those targets on set. You already were a little bit last year. I know I read up on saying how it didn't really wasn't that successful on set pieces last year compared to this year. But can you tell me kind of like that difference on why this year's set pieces are a little bit more successful?
I feel like this year, I know I have to be like very dominant in the air, and I know like I'm the target always. I'm like the person, like, in practice, when we practice set pieces, I'm the one who's always getting the ball. Like, we do it for the ball to go to me. And I think I got in my head that like, if we can't just waste all these chances, and I had to start putting them away. And I'm really glad I put 2 of them away in the first game. It set the pace. Like, I think I've almost gotten one the last 2 games as well.
Yeah.
I'm closer and closer to trying to get one every game. It's my goal.
Okay, Hannah, you got something for Jazmin real quick?
Yeah, Jazmin, I come into this whole silent reporting thing with very limited soccer knowledge, but I'm learning, and I'm learning a lot. But something that I noticed from you specifically as a defender is how aggressive you are offensively as well. And I think it really sets you apart as a player. Can you just talk more about what that aggressive mentality means, not only defensively but offensively as well?
Yeah. Well, my dad, to start out, he's like a big basketball, football player. He regrets not putting me in basketball. He said a lot of the moves, like the box out moves you can do like on attacking corners, this is basketball exactly. And so he taught me a little something, like try to like keep your arms wide and just be like really aggressive. Because people are trying to screen me. I'm getting pulled like because they know I'm the target. And so I think just like implementing those aggressive like techniques, trying to get free from my person that was marking me, I think it's helped me a lot in trying to score. So yeah.
Okay. And also because I also read that you're kind of stepping up in a little bit of a more of a leadership position this upcoming year. And this is a really young team. Like this is this is mainly freshmen, sophomore, sprinkle in a little juniors. And I want to say 3 seniors,
Yeah.
I think. So can you talk to us about like what it's like to kind of make that step in a leadership role?
I mean, it's definitely different compared to last year. We had a lot of seniors last year, and obviously a lot of them graduated. And we have like these little leadership type groups within our team that would just help like get everything organized and like set the pace in the like how we should act during practice. And I've been in that. I was in that last year as well as this year. And so I think that really helps me like to have like a kind of like other people who are also leaders on the team and just trying to get everyone like to lift each other up basically and not like be like a dictator on the field and be like negative in the leadership way. You know, I try to like uplift my teammates and stay positive, also like being stern because you gotta get stuff done. Yeah. So.
Okay. I do also have another question because last week I had Shaylee Myers on the show and I asked her about conference realignment. I know it's like, super exciting and super very much changing the aspect of college athletics, right? And I know with a lot of the conference realignment is, it's a lot of things to be excited about. It's kind of a few things to be a little skeptical about too, because I know with conference realignment, a lot what was in mind of is football and men's basketball. Not necessarily were they maybe not think too much of the smaller revenue sports such as soccer, volleyball, baseball, and things like that. So I want to know what are your thoughts on conference realignment? Of course, there's things to be excited about and also things to be not excited about. I want full honesty.
Well, I'm actually really excited about it because I feel like it just introduces new people to play that are like have a totally different playing style. Because we're getting teams from like that aren't in our conference that are more like quick. Like they'll be like quick playing teams. They pass a lot more than a team we played last year. And it's just like totally new, and the level is definitely increasing with the addition of these people. And I think it's just like a good challenge for everyone in the Big 12. I feel like there's no downside to it besides the tournament. I don't know how the tournament will work because there's so many teams, but I mean, it's so exciting. It's new. It's our first year with it. Next year with Arizona, which is my hometown, coming, which will be exciting if we get to play some games there for my family to see. I don't know. It's just all new, and I'm just excited about it.
Okay. Hannah?
Yeah, so Jazmin, the match against UTSA, Brian, our commentator in our color analysis, that we were all kind of noticing some chipper comments going back and forth between teams. And I know that UTSA lost a great one and K-State got a great one in Kieran Singh. What was the energy on the field? Was there stuff being said back and forth? And where was everybody's heads at with that?
Well, the whole week leading up, we're like, it's revenge season. Like, Kieran, this is your old team. You gotta show out and perform. And I think she did exactly that. And she came with like a chip on her shoulder too. She's like, yeah, I've been here before. I transferred to K-State. I'm gonna go off. And she definitely went off. Of course, Kieran, I love Kieran. She has her little attitude normally, but this time she was ready to go. And it was great. It was so great. We were all so happy. It was just really exciting. And we had something like we wanted to help her show that she made the right decision coming to K-State. So we all had a little chip on our shoulder. Yeah, so that was some words were exchanged.
Shoot, that means I need to get Karen on my show at some point too, because I know she probably got some stuff to say. Like I said, I love that. I just love that competitive edge. I really do. I mean, like I get sportsmanship at the end of the game. Like it's like it's a game. Everyone's cool. We homies. But in the Lions, I don't know who you are, I don't know who you are. I don't care who you are. I'll do my best to be Chaz. That's pretty much it. That is pretty much how I want to do it. So I need to get Karen on this show at some point. So I don't think, because I wanted to ask even more, because a little bit of a off topic kind of switch. Jazmin, did you watch a lot of this past World Cup at all?
I did. It was just so early, so it was a lot like replays, or we'll be traveling and we'd see it like in the morning. But I did watch a good amount of it.
Okay, so I'd assume you're a fan of the U.S. Women's National Team, and obviously this is not the greatest World Cup for them. But I want to know, like, you as a soccer player, what did you see from this, women's national team that was different from past years?
From different past years. I don't know. I mean, I think it was just a lot of the level of play. It's not as like to the standard that it was in the past. In the past, it was like you would go into the game being like, "Oh, it's US. They're going to win."
Yeah.
And then this year, it was like, "Oh, it's US," but I don't know. Sweden's also really good, and it's just a totally different like mentality. I don't know what went on within the team to cause that, but that's just what I've seen. But hopefully it'll get better. Like, we're a good team. Like, we have so much talent.
There's always so much talent. I know the head coach, what's his name? Black Code. Thank God they got his behind about it there. I'm sorry. I was narking it. I was like, bro, you inherited the number one team in the world and you broke them in like less than 2 years. How do you do that? But I don't know. But what's done is done. I know that's old news. I know that's old news at this point because Spain already won and things like that. But I'm like, I can't just pass up this opportunity to actually be like 1v1 with an actual soccer player and ask her what are her thoughts on this women's national team and stuff like that. But Hannah, do you have any more questions for Jazmin too?
I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Creighton game. I mean, obviously you guys still get a point for tying, but just tell me your thoughts on the whole match.
Creighton game, that was a little more frustrating than anything else. Like, of course, we got the tie, which is a good result. But I feel like we definitely should have put away chances. We left a lot of them out on the field. And it was just a lot. I know it was a Sunday game. We're all like tired from Thursday, of course. Sunday games are always more hard. But it was just really frustrating not being able to like take that win. It would have been great for 6 points this weekend. But I mean, we'll take 4 points and we'll move on. Like, we can always, these next 3 games are going to be very challenging. And if we can walk away with any results, it'll be great.
Okay. And I know, Jazmin, since we're on the Creighton game, I know correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel there's a little bit more creativity on set piece so far this season that we've seen last season. Because I know there was this one set piece where it was Corinne, then she did a small kick to Porter List, she held it, and then you had Aaliyah pretty much just barely missing the crossbar by like a millimeter and stuff like that. And I watched that. I know it didn't go in, but I was like, I like that. I know you don't give too much because like more than anything, I want y'all to win. But like tell me like what's that having that creativity like on these set pieces now, especially when you're playing in a conference that just got harder.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a nice little weapon in the arsenal to have. Like, because Leah's has a killer shot. And I think the set pieces that we comprise for her, they like really showcase that and allow her to use that really well. And I feel like it's just another secret weapon we have. We have different variations. We have different types of those. There's a lot more where it came from. And it's just really nice to be able to be creative on these and not have it just be so black and white,
So what does that speak on the confidence that Coach Tabini has? Because like we talked about, this is a really young team, but like, we talked about with the game against UTSA, it was the freshman show. You had Josie's getting her second goal of the season, and then you had Strutman going crazy with that goal that she had. It was like, I'm guessing like 27 yards or something like that. So and also you talk about the creativity that you guys have with a whole bunch of freshmen being in the box, a bunch of underclassmen in the box, getting ready to, get the ball or even get the rebounds, from a block, right? So what does that speak about this team and that Coach Tabini has so much trust in such a young team?
Like, I think it was 14 freshmen that came in, and there's like no drop off in level of play. Like the depth that we have with them, like we can have people come off the bench and have it Like the run of play doesn't slow down at all. And so I think the younger ones, the freshmen, they just add so much like spunk and like creativity. They bring a lot of the creativity into the play too. And of course Morgan and Joe, like scoring as freshmen that early in the season, like it's great. And we love it. And we're hoping that more freshmen will be able to do that. Anyone who comes on, really. Any of our game changers that come off the bench. It just helps us a lot. Like, add something new to the game, you know?
So you just said, like, you know, how the freshmen kind of bring some of that creativity. Does Coach Sabine kind of let y'all cook a little bit on how y'all want to make these set pieces?
Oh, yeah. We definitely, they have, like, things in mind on our set pieces. But they take input from all of us. If we see something, if we have any questions, we think something would be better, they're totally open to it. Like the trust that they have in us is large, and I think it's definitely showing off in this new season.
Okay, honestly, that's really dope. Because one thing that's just still adding that trust that Coach Sabine even remotely has in you guys. And I know this is still like a new program. This is pretty much still its like toddler phase of it because it was only here, I want to say, my freshman year was its very first season in 2016. Yes, guys, I know I'm old, please. But anyway, how it's just still being able, to see how it's growth and stuff. Hannah?
Yeah, so Jazmin, looking ahead to Sunday's match against Nebraska, I personally am very excited. K-State has a long-standing history with Nebraska. You know them leaving the Big 12, sissies, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Would love to see a Wildcat win. What are you most excited for the game, and what do you think keys to the game are?
I'm just excited to play. I never played Nebraska. We didn't play them last year, but the year before that, before I got here, I heard a lot about the game. So I'm super excited to play them. And the team we just played Creighton, I'm pretty sure they tied Nebraska. So I'm curious to see how we show up against that. I'm really, really just super excited. I feel like we'll be able to do well against them.
Okay. And Jazmin, you mentioned before, this is low-key y'all's revenge season. This is y'all revenge tour. And honestly, I wrote in my notes because I thought last week, sorry about how I was able to get y'all's lick back against Northwestern because y'all, unfortunately, that game was lost in heartbreaking fashion last year where the girl who I think never scored a goal had a game winner on a bicycle kick. That hurt. That hurt. But they weren't ranked then. But then you go over to Northwestern, they're ranked number 18, and they do not come away with a win. And y'all go away with a tie. I think that's the first road tie against any ranked opponent in the K-State program. So I feel okay, check. That's getting one lick back. Okay, and two, UTSA, y'all played them last year, right? And I think y'all lost 2-1, and they were a tournament team. And y'all pretty much tapped that behind against them. And like you just said, what Karen was saying, she's yo, it's time to roll. You know what I mean? So do you guys still have that mentality from a lot of teams that you guys are coming up against next? Is also, once again, Nebraska didn't play them last year, but still, this is another revenge tour for a team that left the conference and that K-State and them, we have a lot of history.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I mean, we have a lot to pay back, So I definitely think it's a revenge tour. We're coming. We know we're strong this year. We have some things to make up from last year, like Northwestern. Check. So yeah, I feel there's a lot of teams that we left teams on the field that we regret. Some teams that we should have walked away with the win, and we all want to make sure that we actually get the result in our favor this time, and we are all hungry for that.
Okay. See, y'all need to make some T-shirts with revenge or something like that. That's gotta be the mantra because you talked about how the energy was with UTSA with the student section in the crowd. Man, if you give all these kids some revenge tour T-shirts when they walk through the door, bro, it's game over. There will be no open seats left. But I know this is still kind of piggybacking on. This is the last question before we let you go. How this is the revenge tour, but as a team, what is y'all's overall goal? Because last year was to get to the Big 12, championship tournament, and you guys did that. What's next?
Well, ideally, we want to get back to the tournament, of course, but we want to have a winning season because K-State's never had a winning season, and that's just the first immediate goal. But of course, we want to get to the Big 12. we want to finish top third in Big 12, and I feel like we're fully capable of doing so. Yeah, but also shout outs at home. We want to perform better at home than we did in previous years. And so far so good. So I hope to keep that going.
Okay, cool. Well, Jazmin, thank you so much for hopping on. We'd love to have you on again one of these days for sure. And know you're going to see Hannah a whole bunch on these sidelines. She's gonna be there. She's gonna be right. She's gonna hear all that stuff y'all be talking on the field. She's gonna hear it. And I'm gonna have her report right back to me. I type that up once we get on this show. You feel me? So, Jazmin, thank you so much for coming on and running back. We hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Welcome back to Run It Back here on the Kansas City Sporting Network. If you just missed it, we had Jazmin Brown here talking about all the spice that goes on the soccer field and everything like that. How much this team has grown, how much Coach DeViti lets them cook on set pieces, how that's possibly becoming even more of a weapon, and how this team is just straight up on a revenge tour. I'm just saying they need to make some t-shirts. They gotta make free t-shirts, hats, jackets. I do not care. You have something that says revenge tour on anything, people will eat that up. Okay. So that's what I hope. I hope she's, let this idea slide to Coach DeViti, the team that does all the apparel, yada, 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 or even home field apparel. If y'all want to pick that up, I'm just trying to help y'all out. So Hannah, I know we've talked a lot with Jazmin about everything that I just mentioned. And I know you talked about earlier on, even before we started the show, you don't have the greatest knowledge of soccer, but you're learning. What have you, honestly, you being on the sideline for like the first time at this soccer game, what did kind of like surprise you or just even entertain you? Be like, oh, so this is what this is like.
I think I had been away from, so I played like a lot of sports in high school. I think I'd been away from like girls sports specifically for too long. And I forget how like chippy we are with each other. And like the beef on the field is like so real. And like I remember in like high school, I would play like best friends from other schools and we would be like atrocious to each other on the court. But then like, off the court, off the field, we're best friends again. But I think that was like so refreshing. I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's all the same. And it was so fun to watch, like big things that I learned. I didn't know about like the points for like individual players and then also like team points, things like that. So I learned all about that. And then I'm learning more about like the set pieces, everything like that. I learned that you call them a goalkeeper, not a goalie.
Honestly, I'm just starting to kind of get like that because I've been calling them goalies for a very, very long time. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like the first coach I interviewed, he like started like using a bunch of soccer lingo. And I swear I was just sitting there like smiling and nodding, pretending to understand. And then I went back later and asked my boss. I was like, dude, I don't know any of this means. You're going to need to like decode this for me. But I'm definitely learning all the soccer rules too now. Like when the ball goes out on the end line versus the sideline and the yellow cards and the red card, all the things. But it's been interesting and very exciting. I think I'm going to end up liking soccer quite a bit.
Honestly, I hope you get to experience seeing your red card. Hopefully it's not on our team.
I hope not.
I know that because the Birds red card I experienced was last year. Of course, this was still in the non-conference portion. So roughly a year ago to where we are now, we played against Purdue. And Purdue was a really solid team. But it was crazy because one thing that both Purdue and K-State coaching staff and players agreed on, that the officials sucked. Okay. Okay. That's one thing that we both could agree on. Because I don't know what old dude was doing. I talked to the goalkeeper coach, Matt Smith. He was on a couple of shows at Wildcat 91.9. Yeah. Actually, I brought that up to him that game against Purdue because there was this one official who was walking out and he's like this 6'3" tall, really skinny dude who came out walking like this, like he's swole or something. And all the coaching staff were like, oh, so it's like, so this is what we are. Kind of deal. I guess trying to show that he's the authority. You know what I mean? I'm like, and I noticed, I'm like, kind of strange, but whatever. I'm just going over right now. So I practice so I don't mess anything up when I'm on air, right? And so the more I see him, like, bro, this dude is calling the crappiest craps on the field. Like, it's like he's either letting hard fouls go or he's either completely letting the most ticky-tacky fouls, getting a yellow card or something crazy like that. We're like, bro, what are you doing? And this is both ends. This is both sides. K-State and Purdue are like, we hate this dude. Please don't try to get him out of there. And it was at the start of the second half, or actually just the end of the first half, and their best player got her second yellow card. The first yellow card was literally nothing. Like, she barely even touched one of our players, but she got a yellow card. And then the second time, where it was actually more of a hard foul, like, okay, yeah, I could see that being a yellow card. He's like, you could see his face. He just looked down, got out of his pocket, and just pulled up the yellow card. Because when you get 2 yellow cards, you get a red. That means you gotta play with 10 players. And my God, the amount of screams and like what the explicitives came from the sideline was just absolutely insane. I was like, ooh, he in trouble. So I mean, like, because the SID for Purdue, because I was going to talk to them when they came out, you know, and because they were leading at the half. Yeah, the SID was like, yeah, coach is not going to be available. I'm like, I get it. I get it.
Okay, understand.
I understand, because I'm like, I feel like talking to this man who's just completely steaming and cherry red on the camera. It's probably not going to be the best interview. It might be kind of entertaining, but for someone to ask for the questions, I'm like, I don't want none of that smoke.
So true.
Like, I don't want none of that smoke having to do that. But that's what that was. But even still, like, because Purdue was a really good team. We ended up losing that game. I don't remember the score. It might have been like 2-0, 2-1. Perhaps, but that's what a lot of the results that we had in teams like that for soccer. But Hannah, I know this is still new for you. It's gonna be new for Sophie as well. I want to have her on the show at some point too, because what I loved about being sidelined, like, y'all get this, you just get the skinny on a lot of things that other people just don't. Not saying nothing spicy or nothing. Be like, you're not supposed to know this. And be like, oh, I've actually talked to the coaches and the players straight up 1v1, so I know these things that you don't, or I get this vibe of them having a chip on their shoulder and things like that, and you don't. So you already doing a couple games underneath your belt, and I know you haven't even started volleyball yet, but what have you noticed about this team? Because I want to know, you probably talked to them during the media days too, right?
Yeah, I say questions, you know, like the whole thing, but I think, I mean, something that you like notice with the job is like you get to see so much personality that you don't ever see as just like a fan. I especially think I'll notice this a lot once I get into like basketball too, is just seeing like the personality, and I see like how well K-State works together as a team, and also how well they work with our coaches. Our coaches clearly are very insightful. I mean, obviously. But the players are so receptive to everything that they say. There's never any sass or back talk. Like, you know, I don't see any of it. It's all just like, you know, especially those freshmen. I mean, they are sponges. They are soaking it all in. And you can tell how eager they are to get on the field, especially the UTSA game. You know, it's hot. I talked to Coach Jazmin before. He said we're going to utilize our subs. When I talked to the UTSA coach, he said we're utilizing subs. Obviously, it's warm. And they did just that. And, you know, freshmen would go to check in for K-State, and they were bouncing off the walls, so excited to get on that field. And I think that that's also a testament to the type of players that K-State's recruiting too, because I think that some girls might get into that role and get cold feet or get stage fright or get nervous. And, you know, obviously we talk about the UTSA game, and our 2 goals are scored by freshmen off the bench. And I think, you know, again, our girls can show up in big time moments off the bench, and that's really important. And then another thing that I've really noticed is I talked to Coach Jabini about like the leadership on the team, and he talked about Aaliyah El-Nagar a lot. And that was not just fluff. You know, I talked to him before I'd ever watched any soccer in person, and then I get to the game, and she is so encouraging to all of her teammates, but also she clearly understands the game so well. You know, she's back in the backfield yelling at her forwards, you know, clear across the field in a really effective way with good tone. She's never rubbing anybody the wrong way on her own team, and she clearly leads the Cats very, very effectively. So those are like just some things that really stuck out to me.
Honestly, and I've seen that too. Because it's even going to be more so important when conference play starts, because what I've learned from doing sideline last year and I've learned from this team last year as like non-conference ain't got jack diddly squat when conference starts. Like the physicality that goes from saying when you're playing UTSA, you know UTSA is a really good team, they're a tournament team, but now goes when you're playing a TCU or you're playing with Cincinnati. Cincinnati has a really good soccer program. Like you need to tighten up your boots because it's just gonna go crazy. The speeds is gonna go faster. The physicality, they're just gonna go harder. I like that story that Jazmin was telling me against when they played against Oklahoma, and how she had to sit girl on her back pockets because she kicked her in the face. And like it takes a lot of effort to kick Jazmin Brown in the face because she's 5'10", right? And so then, like, not only does that that level of competitiveness, or you gotta let people know what's up every now and again. But this is just how this is a tough team. And I mentioned this last week. They're not dirty. Okay, this K-State team is not dirty. Okay, they do play with a physicality. You just say like, you got to be ready when you walk up on K-State. You know what I mean? Because other teams are gonna have to match that physicality. And this is a young team. How do they learn how to do that? By matching other teams' physicality when they're being thrown into when they've had a lot of young teams in this short program that they've had to learn fast. They got to get thrown into the fire with conference play that now has officially just gotten harder and will be even harder the following season when a couple other Pac-12 teams are entering the fold, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see that physicality, and that's something that Coach Davini has kind of like embedded into this team. It's like, bro, you're able to win the ball, you go and win the ball. It's like something that they will get fixed is that last season they led the conference, or not led the conference. I think they were top 3, I want to say, in the yellow cards. But a lot of those yellow cards are just because it's just like they were going for the ball. It's just like nothing dirty.
Yeah.
It's never, ever, ever this team. But like I said, when you come in, you better lace up your boots, because if they don't have a chance to win the ball, and like Jazmin say, they want shutouts. What's the best way to get some shutouts? Be physical on the ball, especially her being a defender, her being a center back, you know what I mean? And things like that. It's just going to be great. It's just going to be so exciting seeing this team. The season barely even started with soccer. The season barely even started with volleyball. The new Morgan family are to once again be this Friday, the ribbon cutting at 3. Then you got the game against Omaha at 7. Once again, keep going with a big weekend of K-State sports, you feel me? Because K-State football against SEMO will be on that Saturday. And then Sunday with the doubleheader against Nebraska for K-State soccer at 1. And then K-State volleyball at 3. So these to be butts in seats. But Hannah, thank you so much for coming on. Run it back. We will be back next week with more K-State sports.